Hi everybody. Just because you're under contract with your landlord doesn't necessarily mean you'll end up owning the place. The odds are very high you'll end up owning the place, but most contracts have some contingency clauses in them that allow the buyer to cancel the contract in some situations. It all depends, of course, on how the wording in your particular contract is written. Contingency clauses make the whole contract contingent on whatever is written in that particular clause in the contract. Contingency clauses are usually ways buyers can cancel contracts during the closing process. Sellers often don't have any contingency clauses, so typically once the seller signs the contract, the seller is pretty much locked into selling the house to the buyer, as long as the buyer fulfills their part of the contract. One of the most common contingency clauses is the buyer financing contingency clause. The financing contingency clause will say something along the lines of that if the buyer isn't able to get a mortgage like was outlined in the contract, that the buyer will be able to cancel the whole contract and get a full refund of the buyer's earnest money deposit. Of course, if the buyer is paying all cash for the house, then the contract won't have a financing contingency in it, but it probably still has a buyer inspection contingency clause in it. And a whole section of this course talked about home inspections and buyer inspection contingency clauses. Contingency clauses related to seller disclosures are also extremely common in home purchase contracts. For example, if the seller discloses to you after you go under contract that the seller occasionally sees scorpions in the property, the buyer may very well be able to cancel the contract and get a full refund of their earnest money deposit if they want to. It all depends on how the contract is written. If the home is in a HOA or condo association, the contract probably has an HOA contingency in it. That means the contract might give the buyer X number of days to review the HOA documents once the buyer receives the HOA documents. If the buyer reads in the HOA documents that the HOA plans a huge assessment or that pets aren't allowed, the buyer may be able to cancel the contract using the HOA contingency clause in the contract. If a buyer wants to cancel a contract using any of these contract contingencies, it has to be done exactly according to the contract. If buyers don't cancel a contract correctly, the sellers may be able to keep the buyer's earnest money deposit. It all depends on how the individual contract is written and how the buyer canceled the contract. You definitely want to take your real estate attorney or real estate agent's advice on how to cancel a contract, for sure. In normal sales, when your real estate agent is on commission, your agent might discourage you from canceling your contract because that means your agent won't get paid a penny for all the hard work they put into helping you buy the house or trying to buy the house. When, however, you're paying for your own real estate agent or real estate attorney, they won't have the same mixed emotions about helping you cancel the contract. You'll be the one with the mixed emotions because you'll be paying your real estate agent or real estate attorney to help you cancel the contract. The point is that during the closing process, contracts are occasionally canceled by buyers using contract contingency clauses. Some of the most common contingency clauses are buyer financing contingencies, buyer inspection contingencies, various disclosure contingencies that allow buyers to cancel contracts after they receive certain disclosures from the seller or others. Although the custom in your area may be different, sellers don't typically have any contingencies in home purchase contracts, so sellers can't normally cancel contracts unless the buyer breaks the contract first. As always, it all depends on how your individual contract is written. Now for a bit of fun, let's follow the money in a home purchase. I'm so geeky.